In a small house, Miya Nakamura opens the front door and smiles as she watches the first snow of the season fall. Just then, her sick mother calls for her, so Miya quickly helps her back into bed. Her mother apologizes for making her work so hard, but Miya simply smiles and tells her not to worry. After giving her mom a warm hug, Miya heads into the village to earn some money. On the way home, she spots a beautiful purple flower and picks it, hoping it will make her mother smile. But before she can get home, her grandmother suddenly appears with heartbreaking news. Miya freezes in place as the flower slips from her hand. On the day of the year's first snowfall, her beloved mother passes away. With nowhere else to go, Miya says goodbye to her grandmother and leaves the only home she has ever known. As she walks away, she quietly wonders if her mother is happy in heaven. Starting today, she will be living with the Kanura family, her father's family. When Miya arrives at their huge mansion, she's left staring at it for a few seconds. This place is so big it probably has rooms bigger than her old house. She nervously walks inside, enters a dimly lit living room, and politely bows before introducing herself to the eldest daughter, Mara, the second daughter, Arisa, and their mother, Teru. Since they're all staring at her so seriously, Miya assumes they already hate her for being her father's illegitimate child. Whatever happens, she decides she'll simply accept it. The oldest sister immediately wrinkles her nose and says, "Wow, she smells." Then she points out Miya's messy hair and dirt-covered face, declaring that there's no way she can live with someone who looks like a walking dust ball. Miya quickly apologizes, expecting the worst. Instead, the sisters grab her and drag her away. For a second, it looks like they're about to throw her out. Nope, they're giving her a proper bath instead. After the bath, the sisters start arguing over which hairstyle and dress would look best on her, treating the whole thing like a fashion competition. Just as the argument reaches full speed, their mother calls out. The room instantly goes silent. The sisters nervously apologize, insisting they weren't fighting. Watching them panic, Miya assumes Teru must be the final boss of this house. With a serious expression, Teru tells Miya that the cellar has plenty of space and can be her room. Miya is actually grateful because, compared to sleeping outside, a cellar sounds pretty luxurious. But then Teru casually drops another surprise. Instead of putting Miya in the cellar, they'll move all of her father's books down there and turn his study into Miya's bedroom. Miya is so shocked she almost forgets how to blink. At dinner, Miya is too nervous to speak while her new stepsisters excitedly talk about showing her the flower garden and taking her shopping. Later, they clean the study, which is packed with books. Miya mistakenly assumes Mika dislikes preparing a room for an illegitimate child, but she's wrong again. The sisters divide the work perfectly, making Miya eager to help. While organizing the shelves, Mika learns that Miya can barely read or write because she never had the chance to receive a proper education. Instead of looking down on her, Mika excitedly says Miya gets to experience countless wonderful stories for the first time and immediately volunteers to teach her. Soon, Arisa joins in with another book, leading to a hilarious argument. Mika teases Arisa for loving depressing stories, while Arisa jokes that Mika only enjoys books where something explodes every few pages, leaving Miya completely unsure how to stop them. Later, Miya reveals she spent her childhood carrying heavy cargo for a merchant family instead of attending school. Worried she'll embarrass the Kanura family, she's surprised when Mika happily declares that having such a troublesome little sister just gives her more chances to spoil her and announces that lessons will begin immediately. While reading, Mika accidentally gets a paper cut, and Miya quickly hands her an old cloth to stop the bleeding. At first, Mika is disgusted by the worn fabric, but when she learns it belonged to Miya's late mother, she tearfully tells Miya to treasure it because it's one of the last precious memories her mother left behind. When a tiny blood stain gets on the cloth, Mika panics and desperately tries to clean it. Miya calmly tells everyone not to worry, saying it was already old and she had been thinking about replacing it anyway. Just then, Teru quietly appears out of nowhere once again. She gently reminds Miya that loving her new family doesn't mean letting go of her late mother. Using her remarkable embroidery skills, Teru transforms the worn-out cloth into a beautiful keepsake, preserving one of Miya's most precious memories. That night, Miya stays in the guest room while her new bedroom is being aired out. She's amazed by the luxurious room and soft bed, so different from the freezing attic where she once slept. As she remembers sharing a tiny bed with her mother, who always apologized for their hardships, Miya realizes she never cared as long as they were together, and the memories bring her to tears. Miya decided to freshen up and clear her mind. Since the mansion was so enormous, she hoped she'd be able to find the bathroom. Luckily, both of her stepsisters were already waiting outside, expecting exactly that, and happily guide her there and back. Back in her room, Miya admits she's too nervous to sleep. Mika says she hates it when people hide their true feelings, and the sisters suddenly leave. Thinking she's upset them, Miya rushes out to apologize, only to find them waiting outside with their own beds, snacks, and games. Realizing Miya didn't want to be alone, they decide to have a sleepover until she feels safe enough to fall asleep. Overwhelmed, Miya repeatedly thanks them. The sisters laugh and tell her to stop calling them young ladies and simply call them her sisters instead. When Miya shyly calls them Sister Arisa and Sister Mika, both of them light up with joy. Just then, Teru casually appears through yet another hidden door, revealing that secret passages connect her room to every room in the mansion. As everyone talks, Miya wonders if it's really okay to think of them as her family. She nervously tries to call Teru mother, but Teru gently stops her, explaining that Miya never has to replace the mother who lovingly raised her. Lifting Miya's chin, she reassures her that she'll never have to feel guilty for cherishing those memories, then warmly tells her that if she wants, she can simply call her Mommy. The next morning, Miya wakes up bright and early, grabs a broom, and immediately looks for something to clean. Old habits really die hard. While walking through the mansion, she hears Teru talking to someone behind a door. Curious, Miya steps inside and is shocked to find her grandmother, Lady Yasu. Yasu begs Miya to return home, tearfully admitting that after losing her daughter, she was consumed by grief and made the mistake of letting Miya go. Once she came to her senses, she realized she couldn't abandon the only family her daughter had left behind. However, she believes a commoner like Miya could never truly fit into the prestigious Kanura family and would only become a burden. Miya sadly agrees, convinced that her lack of education will only embarrass the family. Thinking it would be better to leave for her sister's sake, she's immediately stopped by them. Sensing what she's about to do, they refuse to let her sacrifice her happiness again. Teru then asks the only question that matters, "What do you want?" After gathering her courage, Miya admits she wants to stay. She promises to study hard and do everything she can not to cause trouble. Teru smiles and reminds her that families naturally inconvenience each other. Sometimes that's simply what being a family means, and blood has nothing to do with it. With the matter settled, Teru warmly tells Yasu she's always welcome to visit Miya. However, Teru notices Yasu seems unusually desperate to take Miya back and jokingly asks if she'd already promised to send Miya to work for another merchant family. Yasu's flustered reaction reveals the joke hit the truth, and she quickly leaves. Before going, she quietly warns Miya that not everyone in the Kanura family may accept her, and if life there ever becomes too painful, the Nakamura house will always be her home. The next morning, Mika scolds Miya for disappearing without saying good morning, admitting she spent the entire morning worried after finding her gone. As the sisters start bickering, Teru calmly stops them and casually announces they'll be holding a welcome party for Miya that evening. That night, the dining table is filled with a magnificent feast. For someone who once struggled just to survive, it feels almost unreal. Later, Miya watches the snow fall outside and quietly thinks, "Mother, even though the days here are still cold, my new family has filled them with warmth." At a fancy antique shop, one of the attendants accidentally dropped a beautiful trinket box, chipping one of its corners. She quickly wrapped it up after being told that their most important customer of the day was about to arrive, Lady Teru Kanokura. The Kanokura family was famous for its long and respected history, and Lady Teru carried herself with so much elegance that one serious look from her was enough to make anyone stand up a little straighter. The staff had heard she was incredibly strict, so everyone nervously lined up, terrified of making even the smallest mistake. When the doors opened, no one even dared to look up. But instead of acting cold and demanding, Lady Teru simply reminded her daughters to stay together and make sure Miya didn't wander off. The nervous atmosphere instantly disappeared as the attendants rushed over, eager to help. It looked less like customer service and more like a friendly competition to see who could spoil the Kanakura family the most. However, Lady Teru wasn't shopping for herself. She had come to buy necessities for her newest daughter, Miya. The moment they entered the store, Arisa and Mika threw off their cloaks like two professional shoppers preparing for battle. Both were determined to find the best gifts for their little sister. Meanwhile, Miya stood there with shaky hands, overwhelmed by how huge and beautiful the store was. Wanting to cheer her up, Mika gave Miya a lip rouge she had been saving her allowance to buy. Not to be outdone, Arisa proudly gifted her a boxwood comb that would keep her hair shiny. Monica couldn't help wondering how Arisa could afford something so nice when she usually spent all her allowance on snacks. As it turned out, Arisa earned extra money by helping with chores around the house. Smart move. Before long, their shopping basket was overflowing. Lady Teru smiled but reminded the girls that while it was wonderful to spoil Miya, she also needed to choose something for herself. After carefully looking around, Miya picked the chipped trinket box. It wasn't the prettiest item in the shop, but the iris flowers painted on it reminded her of her late mother. She wanted to use it as a treasure box to keep all the gifts her sisters gave her. The shop owner quickly offered a brand new mother of pearl box instead, but Lady Teru gently refused. This was the very first thing Miya had ever chosen for herself, and as her new mother, she wanted to make that wish come true. Since the corner was broken, she decided they would repair it using kintsugi, the traditional art of fixing broken pottery with lacquer, proving that even broken things can become more beautiful. Back at the Kanakura mansion, Miya's sisters excitedly told her it was time to meet the family's bodyguard. Hearing that, Miya imagined a huge, intimidating warrior standing guard against thieves. But when the doors opened, the mighty bodyguard turned out to be Gungir, a fluffy little dog. Miya instantly melted from the cuteness overload and scooped him into a big hug. Monica joked that this was the kind of moment that deserved 100 photos, but sadly, cameras back then were about the size of a small suitcase. Watching Miya happily cuddle the fluffy pup, everyone agreed it was almost too adorable to handle. Then the head maid, Nago, mentioned that everyone called him Guncho because he had never barked. They had always assumed he was simply the most well-behaved dog in the world, until Mika casually revealed that he actually couldn't bark. On a rainy day, the family found Gungir collapsed outside the mansion. He wasn't hurt, so they guessed he had been through something emotionally upsetting. Seeing him like that reminded Miya of her own childhood. Before she was even 10 years old, she had cared for her sick mother while also working to earn money. Yasu felt heartbroken that such a young girl had to live through so much. Miya quietly wondered if that made her a pitiful child. Mika immediately shook her head. Gungir wasn't pitiful just because he had suffered, he had a loving family now, and so did Miya. Hearing those words brought a small but genuine smile to her face. Just then, Lady Teru walked in and asked why everyone was chatting instead of taking Gungir for his daily walk. A pet wasn't just there to look cute, it was their responsibility to care for him properly. If they waited too long, they'd miss the perfect time for his walk and his chance to socialize with other dogs. At the dog park, Gungir happily played with his furry friends while Miya joined in. The whole scene was so adorable that it deserved a million photos. Unfortunately, instant cameras hadn't been invented yet, so everyone just had to enjoy the moment the old-fashioned way. The next day, Miya wandered into the mansion's beautiful garden and found Gungir with the head maid, Nago. Since Nago needed to prepare lunch, she tried taking the fluffy bodyguard back inside, but he stubbornly refused to move. So Miya volunteered to take him instead, and the two set off on another little adventure around the estate. Their first stop was Mika, who was completely absorbed in a book. Normally, she looked calm and dignified, but whenever she read, she looked surprisingly childlike. As a maid served afternoon tea, Mika noticed that one of the buttons on the maid's sleeve was hanging by a thread. The frightened maid quickly apologized, expecting a scolding. Instead, Mika calmly snipped off the loose button with a pair of scissors and simply reminded her to sew it back on later. When the maid begged her not to tell the head maid, Mika dismissed the idea. If the maid got fired, who would bring her afternoon tea? Beneath Mika's serious expression was someone who quietly cared about everyone around her. Miya admired her eldest sister even more. As Miya continued exploring, she found Arisa digging through the flower beds while several gardeners desperately tried to stop her. They insisted gardening was their job, but Arissa wasn't having it. With a smile that was somehow both sweet and slightly terrifying, she declared that if she wanted to grow beautiful flowers, she needed to learn everything about them herself. She eagerly asked the gardeners to teach her. Besides gardening, Arissa was also talented at tea ceremonies and dancing, and Miya realized none of those skills came naturally. They were all earned through hard work. When someone suggested asking Mika for help, Arissa immediately refused, insisting she could do it herself. Even though the sisters clearly cared about each other, they somehow managed to turn almost everything into a competition. Miya wished they argued a little less, but deep down she could tell they were much closer than they let on. Back inside the mansion, Miya saw Nego scolding a maid named Mitsuyo after she accidentally knocked over a bucket of water. When Lady Teru arrived, Nego tried to take the blame herself, but Teru saw right through the excuse. Instead of making a big deal out of it, she simply told the maids to change into dry clothes before they caught a cold. A wet floor wasn't worth turning into a disaster. She also remembered that Mitsuyo was supposed to leave work early to visit her mother that day, which explained why she had been so distracted. Since the daisies in the garden were blooming beautifully, Lady Teru told her to take some flowers to her mother as well. Miya couldn't believe a noble lady would show such kindness to a servant. At her old workplace, something like that would have been unthinkable. Lady Teru could be strict, but she was also warm, playful, and thoughtful. To Miya, she truly felt like a ray of sunshine. Every day in the Konakira household brought another surprise. Miya couldn't help wondering if, by living with this family, she might become someone just as kind one day. Later, at lunchtime, Arissa and Mika went looking for her, but found Lady Teru quietly standing outside a room. She gently motioned for them to stay silent. Inside, Miya had fallen asleep while cuddling Gungir. Smiling at the heartwarming sight, the family quietly covered her with a warm blanket and let her rest. Later, Miya learned about the Setsubun tradition, where people throw beans to chase away bad luck. She wanted to wear the Oni mask, but her family wouldn't allow it. When Miya admitted she was afraid of hurting someone because years of hard labor had made her unusually strong, Lady Teru reminded her that strength isn't just for hurting people, it can also protect the ones you love. To prove her point, Lady Teru put on the Oni mask herself and encouraged Miya to throw the beans without holding back. During the ceremony, Miya threw the beans with all her strength, knocking the Oni mask clean off Lady Teru's face. Lady Teru laughed and praised her perfect throw, joking that even sickness would run away after that. Later, she discovered Nego had secretly fired another bean through a small tube because her protective instincts wouldn't let her watch Lady Teru get hit, even during a harmless tradition. Touched by her loyalty, Lady Teru thanked Nego, and together they hoped for another healthy year for the entire family. Go ahead,